start today's video with a little lessons learned. So this video was actually filmed yesterday and I had everything ready, and then I started to film some B-roll and I forgot to switch from 24 frames per second to 60 frames per second. So I got 2 takes with 24 frames per second and I wanted to delete them right away in the camera because I didn't want to figure out which was 24 and 60 in post on the PC. So I took the camera and I just went through and pressed on delete, and the camera asked me if I wanted to delete this frame or all frames. So I thought I want to delete all frames of this video, not just this one frame. So I clicked all frames and everything was gone. Like the whole footage I filmed for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. So that was very horrifying, but I went on the PC and I was able to recover most of the files, and just one got corrupted, and that was the intro. So let's get to the point of the video today. I want to show you the gear I used when filming the Fuerteventura video. I don't know if you already saw it. If not, I will link it above and you can look at it and come back later, or maybe look at it afterwards. So I will show you everything I used. I will also explain you everything so you can exactly decide what fits your needs and what you don't need to buy. So I hope you get all the information you need from this video, and we will start after the intro. So, most important, you want to use a gimbal. You have your smartphone, it has a pretty good camera today, so no need to upgrade there. Guys, get yourself a gimbal. It's not that expensive and your video will look so much more professional. If you look at videos that are shot handheld, they are so jittery and you don't know what's going on, and as a viewer you're just sitting there and think to yourself, man, just put the camera down or get yourself a gimbal or a Steadicam or something that really smooths down your shots. So that's very distracting for your viewer. Get yourself a gimbal. That's actually the first thing I got for my smartphone when I started filming. Gimbals are not expensive at all. So just spend the few euros or dollars and buy a gimbal with good reviews. So for me, I bought the Osmo Mobile 3. I actually thought I will have the best mobile gimbal on the market, and then I bought it, and just a month later DJI dropped the Osmo Mobile 4. So here I am with an old gimbal. It's still very good. So if you're not sure what to buy, you can get the Osmo Mobile 4. It has some very neat features. If you want to save some money, just get the Osmo Mobile 3. It dropped in price since the Osmo Mobile 4 released, so that's your decision. If you have questions how to use a gimbal, you can search YouTube. There will be a lot of tutorials. You can also ask me in the comments down below, and if you want to, I can also make a video just about how to use a gimbal. They are all pretty similar, so I will just use the Osmo Mobile 3, but you can use every gimbal the same way. The second thing I used was Filmic Pro. It's an app on Android and also on iOS, and with this app you can film very professionally. You have a lot of advanced options. The 3 most important features you need to care about in Filmic Pro are a fixed ISO, a fixed white balance, and also a fixed shutter speed. So you can dial in all 3 of them at the beginning of your shot and they will stay the same way. So to use a camera app on your smartphone that gives you these choices is very important, because it will make your footage look way more professional. If you shoot on a stock video app on your smartphone, the ISO will change all the time. So if you are in a dark room and you go outside the door, the ISO will change rapidly, it will go very low. So you are not overexposed on the outside, but you can see a lot in the inside. You will not see any change of ISO during a shot in the whole film industry. The same thing goes for white balance and also shutter speed. Everything will change on the automatic stock app on your phone. It will just change with the light. So you will be in a room with a very cold light maybe, and then go outside and there will be very warm sunlight. So the white balance will change. So the things Filmic Pro helps you with are very small, and you might think it's not very necessary, but they are very important. And the deeper you get into videography, the more you will care about these things Filmic Pro can offer you. I'm not sponsored by Filmic Pro, by the way, I just use it myself. If you want to use any other app that gives you these manual settings, just use that. So the rest of the gear I shot with on my vacation was just an anamorphic lens and an ND filter. So this is the first set, and I will also show you a second option if you don't want to spend that much money. So this is the anamorphic lens. What does anamorphic mean? It's just a lens that gives you a wider field of view and it looks more cinematic because you see this aspect ratio in a lot of movies. So you get these big bars on top and on the bottom, and these will just make your footage look cinematic. The second big thing is you get these blue lens flares. So if you like the lens flares, just go for it, because especially when you're shooting at night, the anamorphic lens will make a good job at this. So this is an anamorphic lens from Ulanzi. It's a Chinese company and it cost me around $50. To use the anamorphic lens, you can either use the phone clips, which are included in the package, or you can buy a case which will have a thread on the back side where you can put on the anamorphic lens. That was my choice because I really like the mechanism and I didn't have to worry about having the clip placed in the right way. So if you have your anamorphic lens and you have the back cover of the phone, you can just take it, and there are 3 camera holes for my Note 10 Plus, and for yours there might be only 1 or 2 or maybe 5. So you can just place it on the right lens and just screw it on there, and it's done, and it will be ready to shoot. So one thing, and maybe that's the most important of this whole video, is an ND filter. What does an ND filter do? An ND filter is basically sunglasses for your camera. If you go out in the sun and it is very bright, you're squinting your eyes until they get used to it. That's because you don't want to have too much light coming into your eyes because it hurts them. So the same thing goes for your camera. If you go outside and it's very bright, but you want to have your camera lens wide open, you need an ND filter. One big mechanic in our smartphones that decides how much light is let in through the lens is called the shutter speed. So the faster the shutter speed, the less light will get in, and it also goes the other way around. If we're not filming sports, we want a pretty slow shutter speed because it gives this natural motion blur. So here are 2 examples of me pouring water into a glass, and you can just look at it and decide which you think looks better. So I think we agree that the second one with the slower shutter speed looked way more beautiful and smooth. So to reach the slow shutter speed, we need an ND filter, and that's really the most important part of the gear. You don't need anything else if you just have an ND filter. Even the gimbal is not as important for me as an ND filter. So for the ND filter, I decided to go with the K&F Concept ND Filter. It's just 15 euros, and you can change the strength of it just by turning it. So you don't need a lot of ND filters for different light situations. You just need this one. I have to admit, I got some gray shadows on the outside on some shots, and that's because of this kind of ND filter. If you don't want to get these gray areas on the outside, just get an ND filter pack. It should go from ND8 to maybe ND64. I think this should be enough. When you receive the anamorphic lens, it will look like this, and it will have no mount for your ND filter, so you will not be able to use them together. So for this case, there's also an extra adapter. Usually there is just a screw to just tighten the adapter on the anamorphic lens. The screw was missing in my set, so I glued it on. So with this adapter, you can just take your ND filter and just screw it on. So the last problem with this set was that I couldn't balance the gimbal properly because this is very, very heavy. So I searched the internet and I found these counterweights. They are just like also 5 euros or 10 euros maybe. And you can just screw them onto your gimbal. You can just look up your gimbal and counterweight, and it should show you the right ones. To finish up this video, I have one last option for you. And this would be filming on the very, very budget. So if you don't want to use the anamorphic lens, you have another option, and that's just an ND filter. It's everything you need. You could also go with the Ulanzi case, for example. There are some other companies that offer you these cases too, where you can put on some ND filters. Or, and that would be my recommendation, just use an ND filter with this clip on it. So this clip will help you. You just take your phone and clip it on there and use it right away, just like that. It's very simple, it's very good to use, there is no problems. I really liked it and I used it a lot. This one is from Neewer. It's a very cheap ND filter, which gets the job done just nicely. So if you want to use one, I use this one. You can try out whatever you want and just use the one that works best for you. On this one, you can also change the value a little bit, and I didn't have any gray areas with this one. So I will link all the products down below. You can look at all of them and decide whether or not you want to use it. When I started to think about what I will tell you in this video, at first I just wanted to show you the gear I used and just give you some tips. But I realized that if you are really starting with videography, you should at least get a little bit of background information so that you know why I used the gear I showed to you. So I apologize to everyone that already knew this kind of information and just wanted to know the gear exactly. I hope it wasn't too long. But for anyone that is new to videography, maybe it was very fast for you today. So if you have any questions or you want me to explain something in detail, ask for it in the comments and I will do my best to answer your question or maybe make a whole video about it. I hope every one of you will have a very nice week and I wish you nice filming.